JS on air now. The governor wants to increase funds to private and religious voucher schools.
And that proposal is causing a lot of controversy because so far those schools are not required to report data and results in the same way that public schools are. We're joined now by Erin Richards of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Erin, also we're seeing voucher funding increasing compared to public schools. Where does that play out, and is that one of the sticking points here?
It absolutely is. And this is one of the points that's really controversial, but it's also very complicated. So what the governor has done is proposed a 1% increase for funding for K-12 public schools. That's great, except for the fact that he's limited the amount that these schools can spend per student. A lot of people expected that they would be able to raise a little bit more money in tax dollars and state aid per pupil. That hasn't happened. That revenue limit is capped. So that means that schools are still stuck without being able to buy new textbooks or new resources, and that it might end up being more of a tax break for taxpayers. On the other hand, public schools get a lot more money per kid than the private voucher schools do, in general, when we're talking in large-scale terms. So for the voucher schools, they are getting a pretty big bump in the amount of state aid or the payment that they get per pupil. It's a pretty big jump. It's much bigger than that 1%. However, in the grand scheme of things, these voucher schools still get less than the public schools, and they're, continuing to educate kids for less money. The public school advocates say, yes, but we don't know how these schools are doing because we don't have results for them because they don't have to report results in the same way that public schools do.
Big picture, some in Madison are talking about this as being the first phase, the first step towards wide open voucher program across the state. What would that look like?
Well, it's hard to say, and here's another sticking point. So at the moment, what the governor has proposed is to allow about 9 other districts in the state to be able to have voucher programs. That could include districts like Madison and like Sheboygan that have some lower performing schools. Could this be an entry point to open these up statewide to every single school district? We really don't know that part yet. And so what you're already seeing is even some Republican legislators saying, we're not sure if this is the best way to go about this yet. Maybe we need to have a local referendum before people say, okay, now we're ready to accept voucher schools in our community.
A contentious issue. Erin Richards, thanks for the update, and you can read more about it. jsonline.com. We also have a link